Mistakes. Everybody makes them. Mistakes are how we learn, and the ability to undo a mistake or to revisit an editing decision is an essential part of mobile photo editing. In my opinion, the ability to experiment with an image and to explore every combination of tools without the fear that we are going to do something that we can never undo is an essential part of the creative process. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show 3 ways to undo or to revise a change while working in Snapseed from Google. Let's jump into Snapseed on my tablet and I'll show you how to undo a disaster or simply change your mind as you're working away on one of your mobile images. To get us started here, I'm going to take this image from the Wild Gardens in Acadia National Park and bring it into the crop tool. To do that, I'm going to tap on the Tools and Filters menu button down here in the bottom right-hand corner of the home screen in Snapseed. Now I will activate the crop tool by tapping here. When the crop tool appears, I'm going to choose a square aspect ratio down here on the toolbar. Next, I'll drag the corners of the cropping frame in and set my crop so that the boardwalk runs right through the center of my image. I can move the crop around by dragging my finger across the screen. When I'm happy, I'll tap on the check mark, which is the commit button, down at the bottom right to set this crop. Once the crop has been set, my image will return to the main editing window, and now we can see that it's a square. When I look at this image now, though, I'm kind of bothered by those posts that hit the sides of the new image. Those posts seem to pull my eye out the sides of the frame, and I've decided that the crop that I just set was a mistake. Fortunately, undoing this change, or any change in Snapseed, is easy. All that I have to do is to tap on those 3 little vertical dots in the top right corner, and a menu will appear. At the top of that menu is Undo. Tapping on Undo will remove the last thing that I did to this image here in Snapseed, which in this case was that lousy crop. Now I have the chance to do things over again. So I'll go back into the Tools and Filters menu. Then I'll go back into the crop tool. This time I'm going to drag the corners in a bit more. And I'm going to be careful to eliminate those posts from my frame. Now I'll commit the crop. That was easy, and if I really cared about this image, I would hit the Save button. But since this is just a demo, let me pick another image and make a few more mistakes. I'm going to tap on the Open button to pick another image. Now, I'm going to drag my finger down the screen until I find the photo that I want. I'll pick this photo here with a tap. This time, I'm going to make a mistake in the Tune Image Tools menu. I will start by tapping on the pencil again to bring out all of the tools and filter choices. Now I'll tap on the Tune Image choice. When the Tune Image group appears, I'm going to slide my finger vertically across the screen to bring up the menu. And then I'm going to choose Saturation. Now I'm going to crank the saturation all the way up until the photo goes nuclear. I'm going to do this only to illustrate making a mistake and not because I think this image needs 100% more saturation. Let's just say in my drunken stupor now that I love the horrible mess that's on the screen. So I'll hit the check mark to commit this change. Now obviously, if I was to sober up at this moment, I could just undo this mistake like we did last time. But let's pretend that I've had way too much to drink and I decide to keep going with this image. Let's say at this point that I decide I want to crop this one into a square too. So I'll launch the crop tool. I'll drag the crop frame around again, and I'm going to do a sloppy job in here. I think I'll cut off half the flower. Okay, now I'm beginning to have second thoughts. I could go up to the 3 little dots menu now, and I could tap Undo. The thing is, though, that Undo here only gets rid of the lousy crop. I could go back into that menu again and hit undo a second time to get rid of all that unnecessary saturation, but humor me here for a second. Let's just pretend that for some crazy reason that I change my mind right now and I want the crop back. In that case, what I could do right now is to return to the ... menu and tap redo. It's a tangent, but do you see how you can undo or redo whatever changes you just made? Reality though, I'm starting to sober up now, and I'm convinced that I have made a total mess of this image. Rather than going undo and undo and undo over and over again, what I'm going to do is return to the ... menu and choose revert. When I tap on revert, a menu will appear to confirm that returning to my original image is indeed what I want to do. In this case, this is exactly what I want. So I'll tap on the revert choice. Just like that, all my mistakes go away and I'm back to the image I opened a few minutes ago. At this point, I hope that you are feeling good. I hope that you're feeling like you can experiment freely and that if you make a single mistake, you can just hit undo. I hope that you are feeling confident that if you make a whole bunch of mistakes, that you can always reverse course and start all over here in Snapseed by tapping on the revert button. There is one more trick in here though that I love. It turns out that the way that Snapseed works is really slick and that there is a much more sophisticated way to revise or remove a mistake inside of this program. Before I show this trick though, let me put some mistakes back into this image. Just for an example, I'm going to go into the Tools and Filters menu, and then I'm going to go to the Tune Image menu. This time, I'm going to take the brightness all the way up by sliding my finger across the screen to the right. The image looks terrible again, but that's fine since it will make it clear that I made a mistake right off the bat here. I'll commit this change, and then I'll go to the crop tool. Once again, I'll make a mess of things in here, and I'll set a really lousy crop. Now, I'll swipe down in the Tools and Filters menu, and I'll pick the Frames option. I'm going to go with the 5th frame style along the toolbar to give my image a little white and black border. I can swipe my finger horizontally across the screen to change the width of the framing effect. I think I'll go with something about 10 here. And when I'm happy, I'll tap on the check mark to commit this frame. Well, the frame looks great to me, but the image inside it is a disaster. Of course, I could undo or revert, but in this case, I want to keep the frame and just revise the changes that I made to the brightness and the crop. So here's the super sophisticated part. Do you see the little number 3 up there in the middle of the top right row? That 3, or whatever number that it shows in that area, is a button called the layer stack. If you're wondering, my stacks button says 3 right now because that's the number of changes, the number of layers that I've added to this image so far. If you tap on the stacks button, then the screen will change. Down at the bottom right now, do you see a separate layer for each type of change that I have made to get to this point? With stacks, you can adjust the settings of each layer or each filter. You can disable them or delete one without having to start all over again. Let's say, for example, that I no longer want that nasty crop. If I tap on the crop layer in the stacks list, then a little flyout menu will appear. Tapping on the little trash can symbol on the left side of this flyout will remove this layer from my image, but it won't take away my frame or affect the changes that I initially made in the Tune Image menu. That's cool, but it gets even better. Now I'm going to fix that mistake that I made with the brightness by tapping on the Tune Image layer. When the little flyout appears this time, I'm going to tap on the little sliders button on the far right side of the flyout. As soon as I tap that button, Snapseed will take me back to the Tune Image menu, and now I have the chance to revise the silly mistake that I made with the brightness slider. I'll drag my finger to the left to set that brightness back to 0. While I'm in here, I also have the chance to make any other changes that I want using any of the controls in this menu. Just for demo, I think that I will drag the ambience up to about +50. I think I'll drag the shadows down to -30 or so. I think I'll push the highlights up, and maybe I'll nudge that brightness up just a little bit too. The point is that I can come back in here and adjust and adjust and adjust until things look better. When I'm happy, I'll tap on the check mark to commit these changes. Now, if I reactivate the frames layer by tapping on it, I get to see the best of everything. Now I have the improvements that I made on my second trip into the Toon image menu, plus the work that I did on the framing layer. And thanks to stacks, everything remains adjustable until I'm completely satisfied. To finish things off, I'll tap on that little arrow in the upper left to return to Snapseed's main editing window. Now I can tap on the Save button to save my work. I hope that you found this useful. I hope that now you feel free to try anything, to try everything, to experiment away without any fear while you're working in Snapseed. Before I end this video, let me mention too that there are lots of other tricks in that stacks feature. There's a lot more there that we can do and that I will cover in depth in some of our advanced image editing videos.